circle, and it's about exchanging ideas and providing inspirations and maybe provocative statements to all of you. So it's not a program that will provide and deliver you solutions that you can take right away, basically, but we selected the speakers from different view angles so that you hopefully get an inspiration how it is to work in a way different environment like the Bay Area, and also what you should do or could do basically in your organizations to make this spirit with you. And hopefully you also enjoyed the morning program. So in the morning we were at Zoom and we were at Rocket Space, and I hope you are satisfied with what these two visits in San Jose and also in San Francisco. And are there any inspirations or something to share? How did you like Zoom? Was it okay? One or two?
I enjoyed both of them a lot. There was a lot of incidents, especially with Rocket Space. That was great. I loved the transfer of what he said. And the guys at Zoom, that was really interesting to hear. Unfortunately, they were a little vague what they said, but it was still very good. Thank you.
Someone else? Victor? Did you like it?
Zoom was great. When you can, day after the IPO, you can talk to the new Unicorn billionaires. That rarely happens, I would say, coming from large corporate, so not many billionaires there. No, really appreciate it very much.
Cool. Okay, so maybe about the vision of this innovation circle, and where is Niels?
Yeah.
Please stand up, because he is basically the originator of this innovation circle, and he came up with that idea. I think 2 or 3 years ago. You just approached me and said, "Hey, Falk, why not combining the final presentations with a kind of innovation circle?" And maybe you want to say something about your thoughts as well?
My thoughts?
Yeah, about this innovation circle?
Well, I mean, it's kind of obvious. I mean, if you have so many people who are all involved in innovating in their business, that there are probably common problems to solve and common challenges to overcome. And so why don't we just join our forces, listen to inspirational talks, and have a chat afterwards, and probably take a chance for serendipity. Thank you.
So, therefore, it's basically this ideation, change, and sharing as part of the sugar community. So for today, some rules. First of all, be curious. So all the speakers are here to share their stories and also to be here to address your questions. Nevertheless, we have set up the program in a way that we get short input from the speakers, and this will be around 15 to 20 minutes each. And then you have only time for 2-3 questions, 4 questions. And if you have more deep-going questions, we have at the end of the program an innovation panel, a discussion panel, and then we have enough time to go more deep into the details. So try to write down the questions that you have, right? And if there is one question that relates to the core understanding, ask it immediately after the presentation or during the presentation, but all the rest of these refer to the end of the learning. Second, be engaged, and if possible, don't use any cell phones today, except for Larry. Most of you know Larry is deaf, so he cannot hear. Therefore, we will provide a link later on, which you can just open on your smartphone, and it's basically a Google Docs document. And you can hack in your question, and hopefully Larry can read that on this screen over there, so that you can have an interaction with him as well. Else it will be only one from him, because it's too difficult for him to have a conversation for a crowd like this size. So that's the only exception, where we will show you a link and then you can chat with him basically. Okay, this was it last year. So we had the CEO of Untitled America, the United States here. And today, well, I don't know what happened here, but nevertheless, you should have all the agenda here. We have basically two program parts. In the first part, we have Laura here from Swissnex. She will talk in a minute. Then Jenny from 500 Startups. I think it's also a very well-known brand. I'm really looking forward to listen to her presentation too. Then Carolyn is here. And then after the coffee break, we have invited Larry. This presentation might move a bit to the end because he's on the BART train and said maybe he's a bit delayed. So we move it a bit around. And John is not here today, but Lee Jian will hold the presentation basically also about artificial intelligence, since he's also director at Stanford for the artificial intelligence program. I think it's not just a replacement. So I think it's equal level at least. So thank you for providing that speech. And then at the end, we have invited a friend of mine, Santi. And Santi is also a former PhD program at the Center for Design Research and Mechanical Engineering from Stanford University. And she has founded a small company, Oxley. And she will talk about her experiences, how to set up these companies here in this vibrant environment. And then we have another coffee break planned at around 4:20, and enough time for the innovation panel. And as part of the panel, Eric will also join from Stanford University. He is basically very well recognized there in the engineering department and has a strong industry background coming from Boeing industries. So basically that's it. Just to let you know, we record the presentations. It's not on live stream, but if someone doesn't want to be on the picture, don't go backwards. And we just want to use this to share it with the other corporate partners taking part in the program, but who are not able to join here in San Francisco. And if you want, please share on social media what we do here as part of the Sugar community, and we have this hashtag Sugar Network. Please tag us, and it helps us to promote the online. So we are on all the platforms, including YouTube. I think now it's time to announce the first speaker of today. And Laura is not just our host here at Swissnex, but Laura will also speak about the innovation approach that Swissnex is taking on with corporates here in San Francisco. And I'm glad you said immediately yes after we requested you. And please come on stage and please give Laura a big round of applause.
Just out of curiosity, I don't think anybody besides the sugar team has been here before, is that right? Or is there somebody that has actually been here before? No, because I think you're all from Europe. Oh, you've been here before. Okay, cool.
Also in Boston.
Also in Boston, Swissnex Boston, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Swissnex, and then I'll tell a little bit about what innovation means for us here, and then I'll tell you about some of the services that we have, and then tell you a couple of success stories as we see them. So yeah, Swissnex, here we connect the dots between San Francisco, in this case, and Switzerland, across education, research, and innovation, and we also include the arts in that because it's important to have creativity in this whole process. I'm sure that you all could agree. So Swissnex is part of a global network here in San Francisco. We've been here since 2003, not at this location. We've just been here for about the last 3 years, not quite. And you see that we have those other locations. There are 5 outposts all around the world. These are located in areas that are of strategic importance for Switzerland in terms of science, technology, innovation. So you notice that they're not really in the capital locations because usually the political center is not usually the innovation center. Maybe that changes in the future, but for now, that's kind of how it is. And basically, we work in a really cross-sector manner here at Swissnex. So we are a government entity at the end of the day. We're operated like a public-private partnership. Last year in 2018, our total budget was a little bit under $3 million. We get some sort of seed funding, if you want to call it that, from the government Swiss State Secretariat for Education, Research, and Innovation. That's a part of the Federal Department for Economy, Research, and Innovation. And then it's up to us to take those funds and do good stuff in partnership with others, and have the people that we work with actually pay for the value that we create together. 5 Swissnexes around the world. We also do have a network of science and technology counselors that are housed at embassies around the world that also contribute to the overall effort that we do to connect Switzerland with the innovative regions in order to keep Switzerland at the forefront of innovation. In this location here at Pier 17, which I said that we've been here for about 3 years, we're working with a wide variety of different kind of stakeholders. So we work really very broadly across the innovation ecosystem. You're all here because of corporates, so we do work with corporates, but that's just one of the types of stakeholders that we work with. We also work with startups, entrepreneurs, creatives, other types of researchers, nonprofits, diplomats, and other types of change makers and thought leaders. Last year, we served 12 startups through the programs that we run on behalf of InnoSwiss, that's the Swiss Innovation Agency. And so those programs help support Swiss startups to internationalize here in the Bay Area. We run some different camp programs to bring them together and give them some greater visibility as we help them get in touch with the right people to accelerate their businesses. We have relationships with Swiss corporates where we work on either internal or external innovation projects. And in my team, that's what we're focused on, is the innovation and entrepreneurship. But at Swissnex, we do also do a lot of events. That's a way that we can bring the locals into our space here and cultivate an audience and a brand in the Bay Area. And I'm quite surprised, actually. We've been doing that for a long time, and we do a lot of events. And I have to say, when I go to events in other places, almost without fail, when I tell the people that I work for Swissnex, like, oh, you guys do cool events. So there's really something to be said about getting people in a space together, thinking about something, being exposed to new information, and being creative together. We do a number of initiatives, so I'll tell you a couple of things later. And then you also noticed on your way in here that we have an exhibition space. So this is one thing that I think differentiates Swissnex from other sort of country representations, which might be exclusively focused on startups or on trade. In our case, we also like to bring that creativity in, which gives us some eye candy. It's more interesting to look at, but also it gives a way to showcase excellence in Swiss education, research, and innovation. So the exhibit you see out here now is talking about digital fabrication. So we've got some examples of what has been built in Zurich at a facility called Nest, which is kind of like a modular research unit from the ETH Zurich, one of the world's leading science universities. And basically they have developed some self-compacting concrete that allows you to build with robotics and not have to preform all of the structures. So the effect of this is that you can build with less materials in a more sustainable way and build things that would have been cost prohibitive before when you needed to build everything kind of just with rebar from the ground up. So that allows us to kind of engage people around topics like that. And also through efforts like that, we do hope to have an impact, actually, and get these technologies out of the university and into the market. So Swissnex is pretty involved at sort of that area right there. Really, our mission is to make sure that all of that great technology that is developed in Switzerland does not remain in the labs in Switzerland, but actually gets out into the market. So we work with pretty early on startups. So in my team, and this is what I'm doing a lot, is working with corporates on innovation projects. These are some of the services that are more standardized that we offer, although we're always open to other ideas and other types of international collaborations as well. So we can do anything from like a workshop to a roundtable, all the way to a technology scouting mandate. And those things are all able to be done remotely. So when we work with our partners, they don't necessarily need to be with us here in this space to take advantage of those services. But we do also offer some opportunities for people to share our space and take advantage of some services here. So we have some relationships with, we've got the companies up there, so these are some examples of people that we've worked with either currently or have in the past on those different types of services. So I believe there are maybe some people in the group from post-finance, is that right? I don't know, okay, so you guys are up there. So maybe you know some of your colleagues have been out here working on innovation sprints. Yeah, we had some people here earlier this year working on the topic of data economy, and they sort of just came, working around that subject, and us putting them in touch, them getting themselves in touch with the right people. They were able to shape where they want to take this in the future direction for the different companies involved. And in that case, actually, there was a group of people that were from different companies that came to work on that same topic, kind of approaching it from different angles. So there was people also from the Swiss Postal Service, as well as Mobiliar, which is a Swiss retail insurer, and they worked on that topic together. So that was a little bit of a prototype for a new service that we're going to offer this fall for the first time. We're calling it Swissnex Innovation Camp. This is a 2-week structured learning program that brings together different corporates to engage in a learning program that helps them take an innovation topic or idea all the way to a validated prototype, very low fidelity prototype, in the space of 2 weeks. And so the value proposition of that is that they can kind of be able to really focus on what they do for a short amount of time, so not a huge investment for the company, and be able to really make progress. I can imagine many of you can relate to this, but I think one of the common challenges that happens is that you have people with good ideas, but it's really hard to get them away from everything else for like long enough chunks of time to actually be able to take something forward. So this program is one support vehicle to help with that. So it is still a short program, just 2 weeks, but they can get away from everything, be immersed here in the Silicon Valley, spend time with us in our space here, be exposed to different innovation methodologies, some technology deep dives. We're going to do one on AI, blockchain, and 5G together with partners. And then they will prototype, they'll be able to learn from their peers, and at the end of 2 weeks we'll have something that they can really start to develop that one. They can also stay here and develop it for 4 weeks independently after the group program, working with us from our space on the other side of that wall. That's the kind of co-working space that we have, and where we also have our own offices. There's space for about 75 seats here at Swissnex. So you guys are just on kind of like the public side of this, but on the other side of that wall, there's also a bunch of desks and like an open co-working space. Yes, we also do run some startup camps. This we do in partnership with the Swiss Innovation Agency, and so we're helping the Swiss startups get exposed and get visibility and connections and strategic advice here in San Francisco. And if you are ever visiting San Francisco, I would recommend you to look at our website and see what kind of events we have going on, because we have something most weeks, and you can meet like a real good variety of people across industries, across disciplines, across sectors here. So just to give you an idea, these are some of the partners that we work with in the last year or two, and this is just a very small portion. So at Swissnex, we're very much about multipliers. We're very much about working very laterally and working definitely across sectors. And we believe that that's the type of diversity that leads to better innovation outcomes. So to be a little bit more concrete, I wanted to tell you a little bit about a program that I was involved with. I heard that there are also some people here from RWE, is that right? Yes, so maybe you've heard about this. Well, NOG, I mean, so that used to be RWE. I met some of those guys here because, so NOG, German utility, and they had set up an outpost here in Silicon Valley. I met one of those guys at a conference, and it was at a time where we were just getting ready to move into this location, and I was wanting to do something around energy innovation. I had, I just had some big ideas about, wanting to do some type of energy innovation accelerator kind of program. And so I happened to meet some people that had similar ideas and good resources to work with to do that. And we were able to collaborate on that together. Swissnex is no longer a part of the Free Electrons program, but I look at this as a success story because we were really instrumental in catalyzing and launching that program back in 2017. It does continue to today. And so my part in it, in 2017, we were able to get 8 utilities together from all around the world to service, well not service, but to collaborate with 12 startups from all around the world in order to make commercial deals to advance energy innovation globally. So that manifested in 3 weeks of face-to-face meetings. So this accelerator program is still structured that same way. I think this is something that works quite well if you can engage that long. Nobody has time to like you're just here for probably like 3 days, right? It's really hard to get away for a long time. So this program goes over about 6 months, and it just has 3 really intensive meeting points between the startups and the corporates to lead to commercial deals in the interest to do pilot projects together and potentially acquisitions or co-development of new products. So in 2017, those 3 weeks led to 17 commercial deals, about $1.5 million in contracts that had a total value potential of $12 million over that time. And the numbers have only grown since then. Then you may have heard of this company, Givaudan. I'm curious, anybody heard of Givaudan? If any of the Swiss guys there, maybe. No. So they're, okay. So they're one of the world's largest fragrance, flavors, and active ingredients houses. And we started working with them in 2016. And at that time, they had no connections in Silicon Valley, and they had 0 idea of what was happening here. And so through the work that we did with them, we got them into touch with a number of key players in the industry. We welcomed a 13-person delegation of C-level executives. We've done an ideation workshop with them in 2017. And then this, we can't take total credit for it, it's also them too, but the work that we did for them led to the creation of a spin-off company called Vista, which is a food innovation platform, which just launched here in San Francisco in January. And that's done in collaboration with other partners such as Danone. And we still maintain a relationship with Givaudan, and we work with them to do tech scouting according to their focus areas. And I did not prepare a full 15 minutes of slides because I wanted to get some questions from you guys. Does anybody have any questions for me now? Or we can also save them for the panel. Questions. Falk kind of wanted me to like comment a little bit on what have I seen that sort of works or doesn't work. I think that's kind of what you guys are here investigating today. Yeah.
I have a question. You said you have 75 seats, people coming in here. So all the different services you provide. How many people do you have on Swissnex, or do you work with local people here?
So our team is definitely not 75 people.
No, 75 people you can host.
Yeah. So
how many people are you?
We're 19 right now. And that's including a couple of interns. Yeah, so we're a pretty small team. I've been here for a long time, so I remember when we were about a quarter of that size. And we're able to do, quite a bit with only that many people around, but it's very busy being here, right, to be honest. Other questions? Sounds terrible.
To understand your model, you have only one way, in the sense that usually you go from Swiss to here. Is there also demand in the other way?
Yeah, there's starting to be more demand in the other way. I would say early on, also just according to the way kind of our budgets were set up and the way that we were envisioned as, a representation abroad, it wasn't encouraged actually in that direction. But that's been more liberalized in the last few years, and I would say particularly with the, the crypto mania that happened last year and previous years, there's been a lot more interest in Switzerland specifically coming from that particular industry. And that's something where I had people asking me a lot more about Switzerland because of that very, very hot market. I mean, now, I don't know if it's the crypto winter or the crypto spring or whatever, but that's something where I've seen really a lot of interest, and it's very difficult to get a direct flight to Switzerland. So if you ever have to do that, you have to plan quite early, and I think that's just a manifestation of more people going. But yeah, the majority of our services are sort of, dealing with people who want to engage with Silicon Valley to advance what they're doing. Yeah.
I see many companies having here accelerators, innovation platforms for many countries.
Yeah.
It's somehow governmental looking. I mean, how does this make it different, or is it really so often?
Well, I think there are a lot of countries that are present here. Maybe they're not as visible as we are. I think nobody has an incredible space like we do, for sure. I'm not trying to brag. Sorry, it's just the truth. But there are many countries here that have typically more just kind of like a straight trade mission, or like they're really just maybe like focused on just startups. So I think what differentiates Swissnex is that we're really very broad across that whole innovation ecosystem. And we do work a lot with Swiss universities as well. So I don't know how it is in your country, but like in Switzerland, a lot of the startups are university spin-offs, so it makes a lot of sense to focus on sort of that tech transfer, or transformational tech, as people are trying to say, particularly for Switzerland. If we're going to help keep the Swiss economy strong, we need to focus a lot on that. And so it's very interesting for us to be in touch with the research universities as well. And then you can kind of like see the technology coming down the line. Also, like, I've been here long enough that, I've seen some of these things now manifest, and that's pretty cool. So I think that differentiates us, as well as our focus on the kind of creative industries and sort of the creative aspect of innovation. We don't do art for art's sake, but we aren't afraid to engage with art and kind of like the provocative questions that come with art as well. And I think those two things really differentiate us. I don't know if any of you plan on kind of like coming back to Silicon Valley, but I did just want to caution you, if you do, in your meetings here and stuff, want to engage with players in the space, I think one thing that doesn't work is to just come here on a trip like this and think that that's going to lead to something. Like, you need to show people here that you have kind of like a local presence, you're coming regularly, so that they know that you're serious. And then maybe just, because you wanted to also kind of like, cultural differences and stuff, the thing that I see the most working with the Swiss, and you've probably guessed by now that I'm American, by the way, I work for the Swiss, but I'm American, is just kind of like the speed that things go. I mean, this is Silicon Valley, and everything is just bigger, better, well, I don't know about better, but bigger and faster, at least here, for sure. So, if you met somebody at Zoom today and you had an interesting conversation, follow up on that, like, today, or like tomorrow, like, don't wait, like, 2 weeks after you get home. Momentum is very, very important. Any other questions?
But who do you usually work together inside of a corporation? Is it the innovation department, or is it the product development, or is it the board? So what is the pattern?
I said sort of all of the above, really, but kind of most common for those technology scouting services that I mentioned, like we did with Givaudan, that helped lead to the creation of this spin-off. We're usually working with the VP of Innovation. But it's always going to be an important part of that whole endeavor, to also involve the executives. So I would say, often like those people that we work with closely, the VPs of Innovation and their teams, we're working with them more on the day-to-day, but then in order to kind of like get buy-in and showcase what they're working on, it's pretty important to get the executive groups out here. And I think one of the things that's, there's lots of great stuff all over the world. It's not like we have, a monopoly on that in Silicon Valley or anything like that. It's just that, like, there's this density here because, like, everybody comes here. This is kind of like the watering hole, for the innovation economy all around the world. And so it's quite useful, I think, to bring executives here also, to give them sort of an experience of transformation and expose them to that kind of possibility, that mindset of possibility that really exists here. That's what I would say.
Maybe one more. Yeah, Eric?
Oh, it's a question I have already asked.
I saw your hand first.
So, I know that you have, from your presentation, you said you have done a lot of work with corporations or companies. Do you have any suggestions for universities, like education, connecting universities with the companies? Do you have any work on that area, or do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, well, I think the program that you're in is awesome. Like, the kind of thing that the Sugar Network is doing is very much kind of like the way that Swissnex would approach something. We haven't approached anything so far that way exactly. But like, for instance, we do have this this relationship with EPFL, which is the other Federal Institute of Technology on the French-speaking side in Lausanne. Where they have an internal selection program to select for advanced students that have good ideas that seem like they have commercial potential, and they actually join our startup program that we do on behalf of InnoSwiss to advance those ideas together with actual incorporated startups in the field and expose them to the same experts, coaches, mentors that we do in our startup program. And that's kind of a new thing that we started doing last year. But we do work a lot with universities in different more kind of like one-on-one ways and in collaborative projects. But we haven't so much focused on like really trying to match students and corporates in any of the programs that we've done so far. But I'm pretty inspired by the sugar thing, and maybe we'll start doing something like maybe we'll start copying you or collaborating with you in some way.
Maybe
Last question, Eric?
Yeah.
I mean, the should be a plurality of events that you organize. What works best to be in a place like this one to invite or to send people that are in the company? What are events that works for you? Might be to put in contact companies and such. What kind of activity?
When you say what kind of events, do you mean like sort of event formats or?
Yes, like I don't know, dinner, breakfast, go to the company. What kind of events practically that works?
I mean, I guess it depends on the overall goals, right? But if you want to like, advance innovation ideas and find collaborators or, future business and that kind of thing, I think you really have to have things that are very interactive. So it's great to come here and be inspired by many things, like the Zoom visit. I'm imagining, I don't know, I wasn't there and I didn't read about what you were going to do there, but I'm imagining they probably had maybe more kind of a salesperson come and talk to you or something like that. And those things are very interesting to like get an insight of the company. And here we are in Silicon Valley, and they just had their IPO yesterday, and wow, look at this, we could do this too. But if you want to actually make progress on projects, then I think there just really has to be, one-on-one time to interact. I don't know if did that answer your question? Okay.
Thank you very much, Laura.
Thanks for your time.
We have
Thank you very much. That's very kind.
So, yeah. So let's come to our next speaker. So it's Jenny Wu, and as mentioned before, she is talking about 500 startups and how to innovate together with them. And I think he's ready in a second to speak. So maybe one wish from my side, so if you have a question, maybe just stand up, say your name, first name, and maybe company. It's then easier for the speakers to see where you come from. And I mean, sometimes it's important to adjust your question, right? I mean, if I would know that you're from Airbus, maybe I can make it fit better. So just help the speakers to know where you're from and give them a bit of context. So without further ado, Jenny, please give her a big applause.
My background is I work on the partnership side of 500 startups. So I'm not on the investment side. I'm not the one going out and making those investments into the early stage startups. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the other side of our business, which we are focusing more and more on nowadays as we think about partnering more with external ecosystem beyond just the early stage investing. So I figured I'd use the time to talk a little bit about who 500 Startups is and how we think about innovation beyond just kind of investing in startups. We are pretty well known here in the Valley, but I think globally maybe not as well known as some of your other prominent VCs. So for those of you who aren't aware of our mission, it's really to discover and back the world's most talented entrepreneurs, help them create successful companies at scale, and build thriving global ecosystems. So we were founded in 2010. We've, at this point, probably invested in over 2,000 companies in our portfolio, and we're in 74 countries. So pretty global at this point, and I think that's going to be one of the differentiating factors, and I'll touch upon a little bit later as well. But again, we're headquartered here in the Valley, but we have about 150 of our staff kind of scattered around the globe. And from an investing standpoint, we're pretty active and pretty proud of how active we are. So according to PitchBook, we are the #1 global investor by total count of investments from 2013 through 2017. And this is very much due to our one of the central prongs of our investment strategy strategy, which is to place a lot of bets on very early stage companies through a very wide mix of startups. So some venture capital firms will have very targeted verticals or focus areas that they want to focus their attention on. Sometimes they're also very targeted in Series B and onwards. For us, we are very much early stage. We often say that we want to be their first institutional check for a lot of the startups. And we look for startups who have quite a bit of traction already, probably some customers, some revenue, but haven't quite figured out how to scale yet. So still very early stage, but looking very promising. This is just a snapshot of some of these startups in our portfolio right now. We're quite proud of the 10 unicorns we put on there, like Karma, Grab, also what we call centaurs, which is not quite a unicorn, but almost there. So those who have achieved valuation. Again, this is kind of across the globe. I think at this point, about half those unicorns are global, and that's something we take a lot of pride in. So we are all over the globe right now, 70 plus countries, and I think this is something that our CEO often says was definitely met with a lot of skepticism when we first started out in 2010. I think we were one of the first VC firms to really take that global approach. And nowadays, when people talk about the Midwest and all these other hubs being places where they're seeing a lot of startup activity, we often say we were one of the first people who really recognized the potential of places outside of the valley. We have hubs in now Mexico City, Miami. Asia is a huge presence for us. Even we're starting to go in the Middle East and Africa, really trying to think about where is the next frontier for startup activity and some of the emerging tech that we see. So I'm based out here in San Francisco, but my team is called Innovation and Partnerships. We're about 30 people who are all across the world trying to work with corporations, governments, nonprofits, foundations, anyone who is really vested in cultivating the local startup scene and helping local entrepreneurs. Another piece that we think really differentiates us that's very much connected to our global nature is diversity. So about half of our staff worldwide is female. We have at least 500 companies in our portfolio where at least one of the founding members is female. If you just look at our team page on our website, our venture partners, our leadership is very, very diverse across Asia, all parts of the globe. So that's something that continues to be a big part of our DNA, and is also something that we definitely look for when we are looking at startups and entrepreneurs to bring into our community. So we, on the investment side of our community, we also have a pretty well-known accelerator program. We're on batch 25 now, which is currently in flight, and I think they're going to be demo daying in late August. We usually open that up to the broader community, so you guys are all invited to hear those pitches. But how this works is, I think twice a year we have a batch accelerator program. So we have thousands of applications come in. We have a team that is very much dedicated to interviewing startups across a number of different metrics. Everything from traction they already have, to customers, to just founding team themselves, conducting hundreds of interviews. Ultimately, we select about 25, maybe 35 founders to participate in a pretty robust 4-month program where our mentors and experts train them on what it takes to grow from sort of product market fit and some traction to really being able to scale. So whether that is, how do you build a sales team, to how do you focus on customer acquisition, A/B test, all those foundational skills you need as a startup to get funding later on. So we really take pride in tracking all of the alumni from our program, and every time they get follow-on funding, it's something that we really celebrate internally and try to socialize. So we have a batch going on right now, but this is something we are really proud of, and I think it's pretty well known in our community. So that's kind of the investment side of our business, which is what we're most known for, I would say, in the Valley and also in the world. But we're increasingly placing more emphasis on the third prong of our mission, which is to build thriving global ecosystems. So if you think about from an innovation standpoint, we want to invest in sort of the next generation of founders and people who are going to be building sort of the innovations of the future. But at the same time, we want to begin planting those seeds for innovation in emerging markets, within corporates and outside of corporates. How do we think about cultivating the ecosystems where innovation can thrive? So, bridging the gap in capital, mentorship, education across the world. And so this is where we are focusing a lot of our energy in, LATAM, for instance, the Middle East, Asia, and Japan. So, beyond venture investing and startup acceleration, now we have a lot of other services around, education. So, for instance, we partner with top universities like Stanford, Berkeley, INSEAD, offering courses to aspiring venture investors all around the globe who are looking to really understand, how do I understand deal sheets. How do I think about an investment thesis? We have a lot of courses that we run several times a year. That's pretty selective, but very robust. From an ecosystem development standpoint, we are beginning to work with governments, nonprofits, and corporates to build those startup ecosystems around the world. And then for corporate innovation specifically, which is where I sit, we're helping companies engage with startups to access new technologies and business models and unlock new strategic opportunities. So thinking about, from the build, buy, and partner spectrum, we help primarily on the partner side. So if they have this ambition to partner with startups, how do they actually do it? How do they figure out the strategy for doing that? And then we also help them make the actual connections to startups. So, we're all around sitting in between the startups and the corporations and cultivating what we call an open innovation approach. So when you think about, what corporations can offer startups, they can offer, first and foremost, capital, distribution, access to a wide variety of customers to test their technologies with, sandbox for things like software. And then startups can also offer a lot to corporations as well. Anything from just the mindset of agile and sort of iterative learning, new business models and technology. It gives the corporations a sense of what they should be on the lookout for in terms of disruptive things to their own model, talent, amongst other things. And then I think for both sides, you have a branding standpoint as well. So a lot of corporations like to say that they work with certain startups to get some of that cachet and pull factor. For startups, it means a lot for them to have the backing and support of really prominent corporations. It helps them get more customers, helps them secure funding for later stage. So we think there's a lot of mutual benefit here, and where we really help is helping them play nice and in that translation process of, it's not always easy for them to craft the right partnerships and speak the right language with each other. So my team helps figure out, okay, what does that engagement look like? How do we make sure that we're able to run successful pilots and proof of concepts with each other? And that's just a sample of some of the partners that we've worked with thus far. So again, our goal in terms of innovation when it comes to corporates or governments and startups is to really translate between those two worlds so that innovation can thrive. So in terms of what we offer on the corporate side of things, it's reflective kind of some of the key needs that we've seen when it comes to the pain points and how corporates have dealt with startup engagement thus far. So first, in terms of seeing where the industry is heading and where to focus, what we've heard a lot is that, it's really easy nowadays to figure out what some of the key trends are in your industry. So if I'm in auto and mobility, it's very easy for a research agency or CE Insights to give me a report and tell me, okay, in 2019 and beyond, here's some of the key trends that are going to affect me. But sometimes it's hard for our corporate partners to actually make sense of, okay, like what specific trends are actually going to impact me this year that I really need to focus on, and how do I make that tangible for my business unit, or what are some actual examples of startups that fit that theme that I should be on the lookout for. So here what sometimes we offer is what we call innovation insight briefings, where we bring in some startups and have them share out some of the key insights from certain industries, and we make intros to the startups as well, where they provide ongoing briefings, where it gives the corporates a sense of what's going on in terms of their industry and what they should be paying attention to. And so we often structure those as a quarterly or twice a year thing, where we bring the startup and the corporate together. As part of that theme, we also sometimes facilitate what we call executive immersion sessions, which is popular for foreign corporates who are looking to come to the Valley and not only meet a couple of startups, but also learn about some of the hottest things that are going on in their space. And we also facilitate a number of visits in the Valley as well. So really thinking about, the first bucket, they be corporates who are looking to figure out where's their industry headed and what they should pay attention to. The second theme that we see is around startup engagement specifically, where and how to find the right startups. So here, what we found is that at this point, every corporation has some form of accelerator, whether they're running it by themselves or they're partnering with some other entity. It's really easy nowadays to actually host a demo day or your own hackathon and find some startups that might be relevant to you. But what we found the challenges for a lot of our corporate partners is that one, sometimes if you are just looking for, let's say, an AI, machine learning type of startup, you have hundreds of hits who don't know what's actually applicable to you. We will help that narrowing process and funneling process for our corporate partners to figure out, okay, given your business needs, here are the types of startups specifically that are going to meet your business challenge. And it's a process that can take up to maybe 12 weeks or as short as maybe 4 weeks, but depending on what the corporate's need is, helping them figure out, here are the 7 sort of startups that we think are most applicable to you based on our global network of startups and also mentors and experts as well. And often this will culminate in a private demo day that we sort of put together on behalf of the corporate. So under this bucket, apart from sort of startup sourcing, we also host what we call boot camps and accelerators as well. This is something that everyone offers now, but we do offer customized accelerator type services for corporates who are looking to source their own startups and run their own program, and we offer a lot of guidance as to how to do that most effectively. The last bucket is around actually developing the right capabilities and infrastructure to invest in startups. So here what we often help out with is a lot of our corporate partners have internal innovation teams or venturing teams that have been tasked to do certain things, and sometimes they need some additional curriculum or guidance as to how to do that, whether that's how to work more effectively with startups, how to get the right buy-in internally, how do you structure a proof of concept or pilot so that it's most effective, and also maybe how to actually build a corporate venture capital type functions. We also offer that as well, helping them develop their fund thesis, recruit the right general partners, fundraise. Those are all types of operational services that we support as well. So this is just kind of at a glance the type of things that we help with. Very much along the spectrum of startup engagement, but I'm happy to speak more about that afterwards. Just come find me. So that's a little bit about what we offer for corporate partners and who 500 is. I figured with the remaining time to talk a little bit more about some of the principles for innovation success that we often use when we think about partnering startups and corporates, and some of the guidelines and guardrails that have proven effective when we work on our projects. So the first principle that we really keep top of mind is to align on the objectives for innovation. So why are you actually working with startups? Why are you building an innovation lab or having an outpost in Silicon Valley? I think a lot of times we find that we'll have a corporate partner who wants to build an accelerator, and they have some sense of the vague topics that they're interested in, whether that's blockchain or machine learning or AI, but there's not a lot of sort of strategic intent behind why they're doing what they're doing. And so we often kick off all of our projects making sure that, okay, there's a really clear North Star as to why they want to engage with startups. And there's a very clear outcome as to what they're after. So is that to help cultural change internally? Is it to understand your own market better, or actually to acquire a very specific type of technology? And we work with corporate partners to limit the scope and definition of success for each project. So this is something that we are really a stickler on for every engagement we work with, and it's probably the most important principle that we have when it comes to engaging with startups and for corporate innovation more broadly. The second principle we have is, which is very much driven by the design thinking lens as well, is to speak the language of startups and treat partnerships as a two-way street. So I think a lot of times we talk to our corporate partners and they're actually surprised at how savvy some of these startups are. They talk to a lot of corporate partners already on their own. They're pretty proactive. They don't really wait for us or for corporates to reach out. They do a lot of their initial outreach already. And so a lot of times we tell our corporate partners, make sure you recognize that the highest potential startups already have multiple options for pursuing their goals. So you really need to think about what exactly is going to be your differentiated benefit that only you can offer to the startups. Whether that's a distribution network, specific type of technical expertise, what can the startups gain by working with your team? And make sure you develop a brand and a platform that's capable of attracting those startups. As part of this, we often also see that when it actually comes to those partnerships, startups require a lot more of a different type of process in terms of the internal red tape that we sometimes see in corporates. Whether it's dealing with legal processes or getting technology integrated, a lot of times we recommend that corporations develop almost like a fast track or a separate track when it comes to just internal administrative type things with startups. Recognizing that if you're a startup, you have very limited resources, you're running out of cash by the day. It's a very different type of world, and so to the extent that you can empathize with the startup team is really going to double the odds of success. Third principle is to create buy-in quickly and identify quick wins. So here, I think what we find is that a lot of times we have partners who are very ambitious who want to, run a pilot by end of year, or I had recently a client who is intent on launching something at CES 2020, and we want to always advise them to make sure you make sure to get smaller quick wins and small goals first. You can actually meet to get some of that momentum and build a lot of the internal camaraderie around startup engagement before you pursue some of those bigger goals. So, especially since a lot of times we find that the internal innovation teams are always kind of constantly looking to prove to the rest of the corporation like why they should exist and to continue to get budget every year. So, to the extent you can identify small goals that meet specific stakeholders' needs that cannot be met today by internal R&D is going to be very valuable for getting that buy-in later on. I think this is something that we also do as part of our engagements is to structure out, okay, your first milestone is going to be this, second milestone is going to be this, and ultimately with the end goal of something in the future, but making sure that you are able to at least obtain buy-in from the executive sponsors you need to at least like make sure your group still exists 6 months from now. And the final principle we have is to take a portfolio approach. So this is pretty similar to actually how we think of from a venture capital investing perspective. You de-risk by using different tools for innovation. So a lot of times we work with internal scouting groups that already, they have an internal design thinking or R&D type function already who is employing sort of the agile methods to create their own products and concepts. But they're using startups as a complementary approach, which we find is actually, has been pretty successful to diversify the way they think about innovation. So maybe they have an internal design thinking group that is working on this, but they're going to partner with external startups for this other type of goal. So we often recommend for the startup engagement as well is to create a diverse portfolio of startups. So think about maybe one startup has a technology you can plug into your portfolio immediately, whereas others might take a bit more time. And then also to run a large number of pilots with as many startups as you can, so that knowing that a lot of those pilots is going to fail, you at least have something that you can take to the end and show for when it comes to getting more budget for the following year. So that's all I have for today. I felt like giving a bit of a primer on who 500 is and the types of things we're now offering at innovation. I think it's somewhat rare for a VC to have these other types of services beyond just investing, but that's something that I think is pretty unique to 500 startups, and we're certainly wanting to build out more. So if you have any questions around what we do, feel free to find me. Thank you.
Yeah, so any questions from the audience? Sure. Eric?
Yes, I'm curious about your activities, particularly venture investing and corporate innovation through open innovation. If you are still using not only human expertise, but there are more and more studies that are using artificial intelligence also in prediction for private equity firms. I'd like to know if you are already using
artificial
intelligence, yes, to predict
to help with the investing side. I think we do have a pretty strong data team, which is using a lot of approaches that is less, from my side of the business, and we're less familiar with the exact methodology that they use to source startups. From my knowledge, I don't think we're using AI quite yet, but don't quote me on that because I'm on the partnership side of it.
Yes, my name is Sheikh Ahmed Rida, Falk, Germany. I am curious to ask how the partnership model works when you try to fund smaller startups or teams abroad in countries where you don't have a local team. So how this works?
So we, if there is a need, let's say in the Middle East, our team will travel based on the type of service that they need. So if it's something like startup sourcing, and the intent is just for them to find startups, we often invite the corporate partner to San Francisco, or we might ask the startups to fly to where the client partner is for the final demo day or for whatever type of engagement they want. If it's something around training, we will send our staff out there. I think around the world, we at least have a small team of people, but the largest cohort is still in San Francisco. So I guess in short, we will travel where that need is and deploy the resources.
So thank you very much. So, and our last speaker for the first part of the program